Ask the backpacker clutching a tattered Lonely Planet from the 90s, or the influencer piloting a drone over rice paddies. They probably both say they've done Vietnam. What they mean is they've braved Hanoi's honking, hyperactive chaos, or drowned in Saigon's neon and motorcycle fumes. Well, the middle? That blank space on their itinerary. The part between the clichés, which to me is exactly the point.
Okay, so reporting live from Terminal 1 here at Naiya. And today's a special day because it's the inaugural flight of Philippine Airlines flying from Manila to Danang. So what I really love about this flight is it departs Manila around 11:10 a.m. and you'll arrive in Danang, Vietnam around 12:45 p.m. So just in time for your hotel's check-in. So I'm excited. This is my second time attending this inaugural flight. But I paid for my own ticket, unfortunately, but it wasn't really that expensive. So yeah, I'm so excited to explore the central part of Vietnam. Already have my coffee fix. Let's go.
I boarded the inaugural Philippine Airlines flight from Manila to Danang, an event wrapped in corporate ceremony, a few embassy speeches, a branded tote bag meant to symbolize friendship between nations.
All right, here we go. It's boarding time.
The plane touched down in Da Nang's immaculate glass and steel terminal, a proud, polished monument to progress that could have been anywhere. These new airports are built to erase difference, to flatten mystery into reassurance.
Okay, so welcome to Da Nang, Xin Chào. And this is my third city here in Vietnam, and I'm so excited to visit and explore Da Nang for only 3 days, because probably I'll be back here again pretty much sooner than I thought. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to the hotel, and the best option is probably book a grab car, and it's cheaper compared to the Philippines. So let's go.
But the real Vietnam asserts itself the moment you walk outside. Humid air hits you like a wet slap. The smell of charcoal smoke, river mud, ripe fruits, and motorbike exhaust. Da Nang offers the illusion of order. Wide, surprisingly clean streets, manageable traffic, and ride-hailing apps that actually work. It isn't Hanoi with its aggressive cacophony, nor Saigon with its hustler's glint. It is patient, reserved. Get a sense it doesn't care if you like it or not.
Finally here in my room, and the check-in process took at least like 20 minutes or so, because apparently the room that I booked originally wasn't really available. There were issues inside the room, so they downgraded me to another room. It's not a suite room, but it's still a big room, and it faces the mountain view, and I like it because there's a floor-to-ceiling window. As you can see, the lighting is so good. So check this out. The 8th floor, and yeah, this is the mirror. This is the closet, pretty much basic. And this is a king-size bed. Obviously, I'm staying here alone, so I have the entire bed for myself, yay. So this is another mirror. Those are like my bags. And this is a sofa. And when you turn right, There's a TV, probably 40 inches. And this is the bathroom. And yeah, it looks decent enough. There's a bidet, of course, because you're in Southeast Asia. Another mirror. And the best part is the view. So this is the mountain view. Not really bad though. And I think it faces in the western side, if I'm not mistaken, if my geography is right. Below me is the street. I'm at the 8th floor. And when you zoom in there, there's the the beach. So I'm going there later because it's really hot and humid outside. Feels like I'm home. So yeah, there we have it. Star Hotel at Sonpan District. So the unpredictable weather here caught me off guard here in Danang. So when I arrived here, it was very hot and humid, and then all of a sudden there's an afternoon shower. Oh, typical tropical weather. But I found a respite in front of my hotel. This is Pho Bo. They serve this rare beef meat, but make it pho. And I'm so excited because when in Vietnam, try their pho.
The sea and the mountain was there. A long curve of pale sand lined with resorts whose owners spoke of quote-unquote development with a missionary fervor. Walk a few blocks inland and you lose the curated beach vibe. Narrow lanes open into small markets where old women haggled over vegetables and chickens packed at litter in the dust. I met Brad Bear, an American I'd once shared a tour with in Puerto Princesa. The sort of accidental friendship that makes no sense, except that it does. We walked together through Sontra Night Market, neon lights throwing garish color over the slick pavement, smoke rising from grills in urgent, greasy plumes. This was not a place for everyone, only for commerce in its most primal form, the endless friction of bargaining and selling. We devoured bang xiao bang dong, those glorious turmeric yellow crepes cracking with fried edges, stuffed with shrimp, chicken, and herbs, wrapped in rice paper and plunged it into a fish sauce that smelled like the bottom of the sea. And boy, it was very delicate, greasy, balanced, and at the same time overwhelming. I ate 3, of course. Grilled octopus followed, charred and succulent, offered with all the ceremony of a paper plate. Around us, plastic stools scraped concrete, vendors barked prices, and durians stank from half-split husks.
I like a strawberry one.
Oh, you gotta put it, yeah.
The next day, we took the bus to Hoi An. An hour of confusion and motion through green fields and shacks, leaning drunkenly on each other. We spoke English, which I kind of appreciated. Travel should be uncomfortable. It should force you to admit you don't know everything. Hoi An was the Vietnam of postcards. Ochre walls, gently sagging roofs, riverside lanterns strung like festival bunting for tourists' cameras. It was undeniably beautiful, even in its self-awareness. Commies here had learned the art of the performance. Tailors beckoning with too good to be true suits, cafe owners selling bitter coffee as heritage, souvenir hawkers repeating prices in perfect English. And yet there was life beneath the choreography. Altars flickering with incense, old men napping in wooden boats, the humid air pressed close, heavy with river damp and possibility. We returned to Da Nang before dark. drawn back to the night market's relentless energy. More bank show for us. More cheap beer that was never quite cold enough. And then the monsoon hit in thick, angry sheets of water that turned the market into a frantic scramble of umbrellas and tarp roofs. We huddled beneath corrugated metals with locals and tourists alike. No one rushing off. No one complaining. Just waiting out the storm together.
Photoshop?
I had only 2 days. Well, for obvious reasons, not nearly enough. But travel isn't about conquering a place or collecting it like some exotic stamp in a passport. It is about surrender, letting yourself be claimed, however briefly, by somewhere that resists your understanding. You stand in a humid market under slanting neon, watching smoke rise from woks, breathing in the sharp salt of fish sauce and the flunk of durian, aware you're a trespasser in someone else's daily struggle. You share a plastic tool with an old friend, laughing at private jokes while the monsoon churns the street into a river, and realize that here, you're both connected and apart. This is what travel offers in its finest, most unsettling form. Not comfort, not certainty, but the vertigo of knowing how small your life is, how partial your vision will always be. And you leave not satisfied, but grateful. Grateful for the mystery that lingers, grateful for the invitation to return, and grateful for the knowledge that the world is vast enough to remain beautifully, permanently beyond you.